All right, why don't we go ahead and get started? So this is the fourth webinar in our Connected Solutions webinar series, and today we are going to be focusing on the battery storage pathway for the Connected Solutions program. My name is Amanda Barker, and I'm the Clean Energy Program Manager here at Green Energy Consumers Alliance, and I will pass it off to my colleague Ayumi to introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Ayumi, and I am an Energy Programs Associate here at Green Energy Consumers Alliance, and I'm going to be talking to you today about battery storage and how it pairs with Connected Solutions. And I'll pass it off to my colleague, Surya.
Thanks, Ayumi. My name is Surya. I am also an Energy Program Associate here at Green Energy Consumers Alliance, and I will be discussing some of the specifics about battery storage systems and some of the technical components of how that interacts with the Connected Solutions program. And I'll pass it off to my colleague, Becca.
Hi, everyone. I'm Becca. I'm also a program associate here. I'll be helping with any tech issues, so feel free to chat me if anything comes up. And then also don't forget to put any questions you might have in the Q&A.
Awesome. Thank you so much. You can go to the next slide. So before we kick off, just wanted to let everyone know that this meeting is being recorded. And so by continuing on with this webinar, you are consenting to being recorded, although everyone is muted and off camera. So shouldn't be any concerns there. But we will be sending the recording around afterwards to the email that you used to register. Next slide. Awesome. So Zoom basics for today, everyone is muted throughout the webinar, and we will answer questions at the end of the presentation. So if you do have a question come up while we're presenting, feel free to plug it into the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen, and we will definitely get to it at the end. Again, this webinar is being recorded, and we will send it around in a follow-up email along with any resources that we mention, as well as the slides from today. Lastly, if you would like to use closed captions, you can click the CC button at the bottom of your screen to enable those. Agenda for today, we're going to do some introductions of who we are at Green Energy Consumers Alliance, as well as the two Connected Solutions program administrators, which are Eversource and National Grid. We will do an overview of what the Connected Solutions program is, and then we will get into some battery storage basics. What are the benefits of batteries? How do they work? And then we will do a guide to enroll your battery storage in the Connected Solutions program. Then we have a slide on some frequently asked questions about batteries and the program. And then lastly, we'll be sure to have time at the end for Q&A. So to introduce Green Energy Consumers Alliance, we are a nonprofit organization based in Massachusetts and Rhode Island. And our mission is to empower consumers and communities to speed a just transition to a zero carbon world. And we do that through both programs and policy advocacy. So on the program side, we have a lot of educational programs around heat pumps, solar, electric vehicles, and now the Connected Solutions program and batteries and smart thermostats, thanks to a grant from Eversource and National Grid, the two program administrators. So we are the middleman here, just helping spread information about the program. But again, Eversource and National Grid are the ones actually designing the programs and implementing them. On the advocacy side of things, we have a policy advocate in Rhode Island and another one in Massachusetts, and they spend a lot of time at the two state houses pushing for climate policies. Next slide. So to introduce the first program administrator, we have Eversource. They are one of the main electric and gas companies in Massachusetts, but they work in Connecticut and New Hampshire as well. They have 4.6 million customers serving both electric and natural gas. over 10,000 employees, and they are #1 in the nation for energy efficiency, according to the ACEEE. And they have made over $725 million in energy efficiency investments. That is an overview of Eversource. Again, they are one of the ConnectedSolutions program administrators because they administer Mass Save, and ConnectedSolutions is sort of under that Mass Save umbrella. Next slide. I will go ahead and introduce National Grid now, the second program administrator. So they are the other big electric and gas utility in Massachusetts. And again, they administer Mass Save, which administers ConnectedSolutions. So you can see here, they have electric customers mostly in Western Massachusetts, and then they have a good combination of electric and gas customers in Eastern Massachusetts. And they have about 1.3 million electric customers, 950,000 gas customers, and over 7,000 employees. Next slide. Now I will pass it off to Ayumi to kick us off on the program.
All right, thank you, Amanda. So this webinar is going to be everything you need to know about the ConnectedSolutions battery storage program, and also everything you'd want to know about getting battery storage for your home or your small business. So to kick us off, what is ConnectedSolutions? So ConnectedSolutions is a program that was designed by utilities to reduce strain on the electricity grid during the hottest days of the year, also known as peak demand days. The ConnectedSolutions program aims to reduce strain on the grid by getting households or businesses with smart thermostats or battery storage to enroll their device in the program and collectively participate in reducing energy demand on the grid through a bring your own device model. Utilities will then pay their customers to participate in the program through annual incentives that you get to collect at the end of the year. So this is just a high-level overview of ConnectedSolutions, but now let's get into the details. So I mentioned this concept of peak demand, but what is peak demand and why should we care about it? Peak demand refers to spikes in energy demand that occur when many people start using a lot of electricity all at once. And this happens on a daily basis, as you can see in this graph, where energy use spikes between 5 to 7 p.m., usually after people get home from work, they start using their AC, they run a load of laundry, they start cooking dinner, etc. When electricity demand spikes, the grid relies on its dirtiest and most expensive power sources, including oil and gas-fired peaker plants. But this also happens on a seasonal basis when temperatures are very high or we have heat waves like we had this past weekend, for instance, where people are using significantly more electricity to keep themselves cool. So peak demand is important for a couple of reasons. The first is that it contributes to expensive energy prices, which is important, especially during a time when energy affordability is a major thing on people's minds. And second, it leads to negative health and environmental impacts for the region. So fossil fuel powered peaker plants only contribute a fraction of our electricity over the course of the year, but are significantly more expensive to run, which leads to higher energy costs for consumers. And they're also extremely polluting, which leads to increased local air pollution and negative health impacts on local communities. So you can see as peak load increases or energy demand on the grid increases, the average price per megawatt hour of electricity also increases at a pretty significant rate. And emissions also increase because of the use of fossil fuel powered peaker plants. And just a quick plug for one of our own programs, but if you're looking to maximize your impact, you can also join Green Energy Consumers' Shave the Peak program. ConnectedSolutions helps reduce peak demand automatically through your smart thermostat or battery system, but Shave the Peak is a program that helps you stay informed and gives you additional ways to reduce usage during peak hours. All right. So without further ado, let's get into why we're here this evening. My colleague Surya is going to go ahead and explain what battery storage is, how it works, and why it's awesome. Surya, take it away.
Thank you for that introduction, Ayumi. So yeah, as Ayumi said, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of an overview of battery storage overall and what that technology entails. So at the most basic level, a battery storage system stores electricity for your home or business. That stored electricity can then be used later, such as when there's a power outage or when the price of electricity is much higher. Um, and the typical home battery system ranges between 5 to 20 kilowatt hours, and they can run essential power. They can run power for essential appliances in a home for about 24 hours. And again, that'll depend based off the different size of a battery storage system that you have. So that picture here kind of demonstrates what a battery storage system typically looks like. You can find these batteries usually like within the garage of a home or like outside on the side of the home or within like a utility room inside of a house. Um, the main benefits of battery storage is that they can be paired with solar to store excess energy that is generated from the solar to be used later. And it also provides you some energy security in the event of a power outage. Next slide, please. So this table here kind of just gives you a rundown of some different popular brands of battery systems. There's definitely a lot more out there than the three that I have listed here, and there's several more that are eligible to participate in the Connected Solutions program. But these are just ones at different size and price ranges that I've listed here just to give you guys an idea of what is kind of out there in the market for battery systems. So on the smaller side, you can get systems such as the Enphase IQ system, which retails for about 45 to 5,500 per unit. The advantage of a system like this is that it is modular and compact. So it is good for smaller homes. And since it's modular, you can actually just add on additional units of the same battery system, and you can build the capacity within your home. And it doesn't all need to be done at once. The con, obviously, is that this is on the lower end of capacity and may not be able to power your appliances for a longer period of time compared to some of the ones with a larger capacity. The Tesla Powerwall 3 is kind of that mid-range battery system. This is one of the more popular ones that you might see around. The capacity for the Tesla Powerwall 3 is about 11.5 kilowatts. Average cost about 9,500 to 10,500. These ones are very commonly paired with solar systems and are great for storing that excess energy that is generated from solar to be used at a later time. The only con here is that obviously the prices of these systems start to rise as the capacity goes up. And the Generac power cell, which is the what you're going to find on the larger side of capacity, there's a lot of different options there. So they're about 20 plus kilowatt. And yeah, the cost again jumps a lot more as you get a bigger system. The pros of this is since it has such a high capacity, it can power a significant amount of your appliances and vital loads in your home for a lot longer of a period of time compared to something like the Enphase or the Tesla battery systems. The only con is that these systems start to get really big, and you definitely have to consider the space that you have available, and the cost again is an important factor. Next slide, please. So how do batteries work with solar? Again, as I mentioned before, during times of the day when there's a lot of sunlight and your solar panels can produce more electricity than your home is actually using at that instant. This is a perfect scenario for when a battery system could store all of that extra energy that is being produced by your home. And it can be stored for later use, such as overnight or just whenever the price of electricity is higher. As you can see here in this diagram, the electrons that are generated from the solar panels go into the controller, which then moves the electrons into your battery. Once it's time for the battery to discharge that electricity to be used later in the home, it then flows through an inverter where the current is changed from a direct current to an alternating current, and then it is applied to whatever loads you might need in your house. There is also some more details about how how Connected Solutions and batteries might interact with net metering credits that you may receive for your solar system. But I will get more into that in some later slides. So just stay tuned for that. Next slide, please. So how do you get a battery, and what are some key factors you want to consider before buying a battery? The cost is obviously a very big one. As you saw, there's quite a different range of costs, and that is definitely one important thing that you will want to consider. The capacity also is right there, along with the cost, and depending on the size of your home and the amount of electrical loads that you may have, you might want to consider a smaller or a larger capacity. The chemistry type is also an important factor to consider. Most batteries are lithium ion, but there's a lot of new developing technology with different types of batteries, such as LFP batteries or like sodium batteries. The brand and warranty is also important to consider. There are several different brands, more than the ones that I showed you earlier, and several of them are eligible to work in the ConnectedSolutions program. And each one will have different varying warranties and lifespans that go along with them. And then again, you will also want to consider if you do have solar already, or if you don't, if you would like that to be a part of the package that you have. Once you've made the decision that you want to buy a home battery system, you should meet with licensed installers to receive quotes on what that process will look like for you. And they will be very helpful in giving you advice that is very specific to your home and your specific needs, and help pair you up with a battery system that will again satisfy the needs of your specific home. Next slide, please. And I will pass it off to Ayumi to talk a little bit about the costs and incentives there are for battery storage.
All right, thanks, Surya. So as you can see, battery systems can be pretty costly, with the average price in Massachusetts for installation and purchasing the equipment of about $12,700 to about $17,000 for the battery and the installation of the average 13 kilowatt system. So compared to Surya's chart that he showed us, that's about a mid-range system. MassSave does, however, provide zero interest financing for battery costs of up to $25,000. And once you have that battery, you can enroll it in ConnectedSolutions and earn $275 per average kilowatt that you contribute to the grid. So this averages out to about $1,200 a year in earnings for a battery customer. So let's get into the ConnectedSolutions program and how you can actually pair your battery with the program. So the program itself consists of the following. You can earn, as I said, about $275 per average kilowatt that you contribute, and you will get about 30 to 60 events that occur throughout the season between June and September. And then in order to be eligible, you must be an Eversource or National Grid customer and have battery storage from a qualifying manufacturer. And it's important to note that customers in select areas may be eligible for an increased incentive with different frequency and duration of events through the ConnectedSolutions Plus program. So this is an enhanced program that's offered to select areas around Massachusetts where the grid tends to be more constrained. And you can learn more about this and if your city or town is eligible by looking at the program pages on your utility's website. So once you have a battery, or if you already have one, we've created a comprehensive guide for how to enroll it in the ConnectedSolutions program. So the first step is to confirm your eligibility for the program. So in this case, that means you are A, a residential or small business customer of National Grid or Eversource, and B, that you have one of the following batteries. So on the right here is a list of all the qualifying batteries that you can find, and you can also find this list by looking at the ConnectedSolutions program page for Eversource or National Grid. And then once you've confirmed that you are eligible, you can enroll your battery. So most eligible manufacturers will indicate on their website or app that your battery is able to be enrolled and will provide you with next steps for how to enroll your battery. And so this process looks different for different manufacturers. So when it comes to enrolling your device, you may have a interface like this. So this is an example from Sonnen, where you can find a form on their website, and you would just have to fill out your information about your battery and your customer information to enroll. Another example is from Enphase. So they have the enrollment process directly through the manufacturer's app on your phone, which is also what you would use to monitor and control your system. So once you've enrolled in the program, you're ready to participate. So over the course of the summer, your utility will send you a signal, and it will let you know that an event is about to happen. So this will occur anywhere from 30 to 60 times per summer, and this frequency might vary, again, for Connected Solutions Plus participants, and that event will last approximately 3 hours. So the way that works is you'll receive a notification from your manufacturer, and in that notification, they'll tell you how much they're anticipating they will pull from your battery for that specific event, at which point you can choose not to participate in the event and opt out, but be aware that this will impact how much you earn for the season overall. If you choose to stay in the event, however, your battery will begin discharging electricity for the duration of the event, which is about 3 hours, and that amount will vary by event, but you will always know in advance. And then at the end of the year, you'll receive your incentive payment for participating. So that amount is calculated based on your battery's average contribution for each event times $275. So on average, customers receive about $1,290 per year for their participation. But this average includes both residential and small business customers with larger battery systems. And once again, this might be different for customers in the Connected Solutions Plus areas. And so I'm going to turn it back over to Surya to explain how the compensation structure works.
Thank you, Ayumi. So this table here just is an illustrative example of what it would look like to have multiple different events over the summer and have different levels of power being discharged from your battery. So in this fictitious scenario, there have been 5 events for the whole summer. Note that there can be a lot more or less than this. Yeah, so as you can see, in the first event, the power discharged from the battery was 4 kilowatts. The second event was 5 kilowatts. And the third event, maybe you decided you didn't want to discharge your battery in this particular instance, so you opted out of the event. So your battery discharged 0 kilowatts. And then for the fourth and fifth events, you had 4 and 3 kilowatts discharged respectively. So the compensation is based on the average amount of your kilowatt your battery is contributing. So you would add all of those amounts up and divide that by the total number of events that there were to find the average number of kilowatts that your battery contributed. In this case, that would be 3.2 kilowatts. And then you would multiply that by the rate of compensation, which is $275 per kilowatt. So in this example scenario, this battery would have earned $880 for the season of participation in Connected Solutions. Just to note that some battery manufacturers may take a percentage of that contribution for the service of providing like the interoperability with the Connected Solutions system. So again, that is just something you will want to double check when you are considering different battery systems, just to note like which ones have what kind of percent cuts of that total compensation. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned before, there is sometimes there's a bit of confusion on how net metering works with Connected Solutions. And net metering, for those that are unaware, is when you have solar when you have a solar system on your home and the solar produces more electricity than your home is using, it exports that extra solar back onto the grid, and you are then compensated for that extra energy that you are now providing back onto the grid. So some people have asked whether that is, if you have a battery, does that mean you're passing up on net metering credits and therefore some revenue from that? So if you go to the next slide, Ayumi, you can talk about that a little bit more. So the average, the median solar system in Massachusetts is about 7.2 kilowatts. And that is going to produce about 30 kilowatt hours a day. Then that's, again, that number is very dependent on your location of your home, the orientation of the panels, the size of the system, and the just amount of sunlight in the day. So that number is kind of a very rough average, but just a useful one for the scenario. An median-sized home in Massachusetts uses about 20 kilowatt hours a day. Again, that is also very dependent on the type of electrical loads that are in the house and all sorts of different factors there. But in that scenario, they're in where the solar panels are producing 30 kilowatts a day and the house is using 20. That means there's 10 kilowatts left over. So in a scenario where you don't have a battery, the 10 kilowatts that is extra there would be exported to the grid, and you would receive net metering credits that would be there for that amount of kilowatts. In the scenario where you do have a battery, for example, a 10 kilowatt battery, all of that remaining 10 kilowatts would go into the battery, and then you would export nothing. But in the next day, if you haven't discharged your battery by then and your battery's full, and you have the same scenario where your solar panels have produced 30 kilowatts and your house has only used 20, then you have that excess 10 kilowatts, which would then be exported, and you would receive your net metering credits for this. So yeah, as we see here, any excess energy that is discharged to the grid is usually compensated around 43 cents per kilowatt hour. The numbers are different for National Grid and Eversource, and these numbers are subject to change. So that is just a rough average estimate. For ConnectedSolutions, as Ayumi mentioned before, these events occurred from June through September. And the average amount of compensation per kilowatt is $275 per kilowatt. So you actually aren't missing out on a lot of like compensation there if you are opting to participate in ConnectedSolutions instead of just receiving that the net metering credits you would be getting there. There's actually quite a large differential there between the amount of money you would be receiving per kilowatt through ConnectedSolutions versus net metering, just due to the fact that when these events are being called, there's a lot higher of a need for the grid for the battery to discharge that electricity compared to just an average day where the solar production is more than average. Next slide, please. And yeah, just finally, we'll just talk about some frequently asked questions about ConnectedSolutions and how that works with batteries. So can you participate in ConnectedSolutions with a battery system with no solar panels? Yes, you can still participate in ConnectedSolutions without solar panels. In this scenario, the battery is just going to draw power from the grid instead of drawing power from the excess solar that's being generated by the panels. In terms of the lifespan of batteries, the lifespan of batteries is measured in cycles, which means which represents the number of times the battery is charged and then discharged. And again, the lifespan will vary based off of a lot of different factors, such as the chemistry, brand, and the total usage. But most typically last between 10 to 15 years. And again, the warranty periods will cover it for usually that period of time, but that does vary by brand. What is the payback period of a battery? Again, there's a lot of different factors that go into the payback period, such as the brand, the installation costs, the electrical work costs that may be associated specifically with your home or business, and the amount of participation in ConnectedSolutions, which again is dependent on the number of events that are being called and the number of events that you either opt in or opt out for. Based on average battery costs and ConnectedSolutions participation, the average payback period is between 7 to 9 years. But again, this could be more or less depending on your specific situation. Are there safety risks with batteries? Battery storage technology is generally very safe technology when installed and maintained properly. And there have been several fail-safe mechanisms that have been developed over the years to reduce risk of thermal runaway or chemical leaks. So as long as these systems are maintained well, there is very little risk associated with the usage of battery storage. Where are batteries usually installed? As I mentioned earlier, they're usually installed indoors in spaces like garages, basements, or utility rooms. Your municipality may have some specific restrictions on where they can be placed on your property or specific like setbacks from your property. So you just will want to check with your municipality before going ahead and installing a battery. And finally, can renters participate in connected solutions? They can, as long as they are the electric account holder for that property. And you will just want to check with your landlord before installing a battery. There might be stipulations in your lease that may prohibit it or not prohibit it. So again, that's just something you'd want to check in with your landlord on that. And I will pass it off to Ayumi to close us out here.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Surya. So I hope that was an informative explanation to all of you. And this is just some feedback that our utilities have received on the program. Most of it is very positive, and participants both appreciate the energy security that having a battery provides, as well as the additional incentive payments that they earn from participating in Connected Solutions. So thank you all so much for listening. We're going to move into our Q&A session now, but we also wanted to point out that we have a 5-minute survey here that we would really appreciate if you would take the time to answer for us. This survey is here to inform the program administrators on how Connected Solutions takes shape over the next few years. And so this feedback will go directly into informing how they make adjustments to the program. So if you want to say in how the program is starts to evolve over time, I would highly recommend you fill out the survey and just give us your honest feedback. All right, so I'm going to turn it over to Amanda to moderate our Q&A.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ayumi. Yeah, I wanted to quickly let David from National Grid come on and introduce himself. He is joining us to help answer the questions that we get. So, David.
Hey, good morning. Well, good morning. Good afternoon. Happy to be here. Definitely any questions that you may have related with batteries and the Connected Solution programs, I will be happy to address them to the best extent that I can.
Awesome. Thanks so much, David. All right, so we do have quite a few questions coming through. One right off the bat is, Surya, could you just reiterate if it's possible to get a battery without solar, like have a standalone system?
That's correct.
Yes,
Great.
you can go ahead and install a battery, and you don't need to have solar.
Awesome. Thank you. And are the per kilowatt payments the same for residential as they are for small businesses, or are they different?
They are the same. Connected Solutions pays $275 per kW average during the summer season. So the sample that Surya explained before in the session, in the workshop, applies to both residential and small business.
Great, thank you. And we're getting some questions about maintenance of a battery. And I don't know, Surya, if you could speak to that.
Yeah. So basically the maintenance just requires you to like check in on your battery like once a month to make sure it's like operating. Maybe you're looking at the statistics that is like coming from the battery, such as how much it's charging, if it's able to discharge properly. And again, your battery will be linked usually to an app, so you'll be able to do all of that there. You're probably just going to want to do like visual inspections of like the battery just to make sure that there's not any like visible damage or any like weird noises it's making, kind of similar to like what you would do with like a car, just like making sure that it's operating properly. And if you do encounter something that maybe is not supposed to be happening or something out of the ordinary, that is when you would maybe work with your installer or maybe the battery manufacturer. You would consult the user guide or their website to figure out what would be the best way to move forward there.
Awesome. Thanks, Surya. Another question maybe David can help answer is just what the opt-out process entails.
Yes, it is actually pretty simple. When there is an event, we will send the signal to our technological partner, and that will send the signal to the different manufacturers. So depending on your battery, the opt-out process, it will be as simple as go to your battery and press a button that says opt-out. So definitely that's, or even from the app that you might have for your battery. So that depends on the on the manufacturer of the battery that you have. But it should be a very direct and a straightforward process.
Awesome. Great to hear. And then someone is asking about regulations for batteries, and our understanding is that they vary by municipality, but do we know if there are any common installation requirements for residential batteries?
Yeah, that is a really good question, because depending on which city you live or which town, there might be different fire marshal regulations related with battery installation. So I will recommend to anyone who is considering the possibility of installing a battery that check out first with the town what are the specifically safety requirements that need to comply with based on those fire marshal regulations. Also, installers should be aware of those and can provide guidance in what are the specific regulations that needs to be followed in each town or city.
Yeah, thanks, David. Yeah, we're going to start looking into the different municipalities' regulations, but our understanding is right now there isn't like a common permitting standard across municipalities. Each one kind of has their own individual thing, and some of them make it harder to install batteries than others. So definitely more to come on that from us. Another question is, how long has the ConnectedSolutions program been in effect?
Yeah, ConnectedSolutions and no-con solutions has been, for thermostats, has been in place since 2017. And for batteries, in the first years, if I remember correctly, it was 2019.
Great. I think we might have a couple of hands raised, but I just want to flag that we are not able to unmute participants. So if you do have a question, definitely throw it into the Q&A function in the chat. But in the meantime, I have a question actually for Surya about the incentives for batteries. So my understanding is that the federal tax credit for residential battery storage has expired due to the new administration. Is there still a way to access the commercial tax credit?
Yeah, sure, Amanda. So you are correct in that the federal tax credits have expired. But for battery storage, the federal tax credit is still available until 2032, only through basically an installer. So it's available for like commercial. So basically what that means is if you want to purchase a battery, you would go to an installer, and maybe you would go to the installer with a couple names of different brands that you had in mind. And if you wanted to like move forward, the installer would go ahead and install the battery. And since they've purchased the battery, they would install it for you, and they've received the tax credit, which is about 30% of the price of the battery. So they would then pass that 30% cost saving off onto you. So it is basically like you are receiving the tax credit there, but it is technically happening through the installer, just because the tax credit is not available anymore for residential.
Great, thanks, Surya. And aside from obviously the Connected Solutions program incentive and the heat loan and potentially getting the commercial tax credit through your installer, there's no other like state level Massachusetts incentive at this point.
Nope, I do not believe there's any state level battery incentive other than the loan financing options.
Got it. And can you recommend, are there any resources out there for helping research different brands and models of batteries that you know of?
I think the ones that I've seen that are pretty good, Energy Sage has pretty good like ways that you can compare different models, and I know we've worked with Energy Sage, and they just do a good job of presenting all the information in a pretty unbiased way. Um, I think that would be the one that comes to mind and the one that I've seen up with the most.
Great. Thanks, Maria. All right. I think that is all of the questions that we have for now. We do have a specific question. I don't know if we're able to answer it on the spot from, I think, an actual battery storage installer. They're asking how we got that $1,290 per year average incentive. Is it what size battery system is it based off of? Saria or Ayumi, do you have an answer to that, or do we need to follow up?
I'm not immediately aware of what size battery system that is based off of. I don't think we have we green energy consumers don't have access to like statewide numbers for like what the average like kilowatt system is being installed, or just the average sizes of systems. I think those numbers were just like are kind of like general. So yeah, I'm not immediately aware of what the like size of battery is that is paired with that 1290 per year number.
Yeah, as far as I know, it's the average number for the customers that are currently enrolled in Connected Solutions across the state. So that can range from anywhere from like small residential batteries to like larger systems. And so it's important to note that like if you get a small battery system, you're probably not going to be making an average of um, $1,290 per year. But that's sort of the middle of the road range for battery systems across all sizes that are enrolled in the program currently. That's my understanding of that value, at least.
Got it. Thanks, Ayumi. We are having a couple more questions come through. So someone is saying that they currently lease their solar panels, but their solar company has not received enough interest from customers to do a battery program. So they're stuck without a battery unless they buy out the solar panels from the solar company. Are there battery installers who also provide ongoing service to batteries and solar panels owned by the homeowner? My understanding is that you'd be able to, the battery doesn't have to come from your solar installer. You'd be able to contract with a separate battery installer to get that installed. But I don't know, Saria or Ayumi, if you have anything to add there.
Yeah, so I'm honestly not super familiar with like the solar like leasing structures. So I think that would depend on the contract that you have with that company. Maybe there's stipulations in there that say you can't have a like battery unless it's provided by them. I'm not entirely sure that, so that would depend on that specific contract that you have with them. But there are definitely companies that do both solar and batteries. Oftentimes they're kind of like if you're installing a solar, it's kind of like the next like thing you're kind of being like marketed or upsold, I guess, to like add a battery system. And so there's definitely companies that like will do service for both. So there's definitely a lot of options out there. I don't think we are in the position to immediately recommend any, but yeah, there's definitely a lot of options out there.
Yeah, I'd recommend checking out Energy Sage to see if they have any resources on recommending both solar and battery storage developers that can help service both for you. Another question we got.
Oh, sorry. Amanda, it looks like the attendee that we have that is an installer themselves also provided an answer to that question, which is that yes, it's possible. So I don't know if we wanted to also flag that. So
Awesome. Thanks for flagging that. Great. All right. Another question that we got is how can a consumer anticipate how many kilowatt hours will be drawn from their battery during each event to calculate the average kilowatt hours, which determines the incentive? They're noting that that affects the economics relative to the net metering credits as well.
In terms of anticipating, I think I'm not sure like how far in ahead these events are being done. Maybe David can help me out there. But I think based off of that, you can, either accept or opt out of that specific event and then use those numbers to calculate what your total compensation will be there. I think maybe in that first year where you have it, it might be a little tough to kind of guess the total compensation, but once you have it, you have that recurring kind of idea of how many events happen. And again, it is very dependent on like the loads on the system, how many peak event days there are, and how many events that the program administrators want to call. So it is kind of variable and kind of hard to pin down with an exact number.
Thanks, Ria. Yeah, unfortunately, it looks like David has lost his audio. So he's not able to help jump in there, but we could definitely follow up with an answer in our email follow-up as well. All right. And our battery installer friend is jumping in with an answer as well. He's sharing that there are settings in the Powerwall app that you can set your percentage. And I guess this particular installer makes 100% average during the summer for the biggest incentive payment at the end of the year. So hopefully that's helpful. All right. I don't quite understand your question, Susan. I don't know, Surya, if you do, but we can follow up afterwards with you, Susan, on exactly what you're trying to ask there. Okay. I think that's all the questions that we have. So thank you all so much for joining us. Again, be on the lookout for the follow-up email, and hope you have a good rest of your day and a nice weekend. Bye.
thanks,
Bye.
everyone.